Good evening, my fangs. Welcome back to the cavern. To close up Vampire Month, I decided to share my top 10 vampire shows since I already did my top 10 vampire movies. The card to that video is above me if you'd like to check that out. I've mixed in some of my favorite anime vampire shows since my list would be incredibly short otherwise. There's not that many vampire shows that I actually like. Well, at least for American shows. So number 10 is Vampire Princess Miyu. It's about a vampire named Miyu, who is the daughter of a human and Shinma. Her Western Shinma companion, Larva, is also in the mix. She was awakened as the guardian whose destiny is to hunt down all stray Shinma and then send them back to the darkness. Miyu yearns to return to the darkness herself, but can't until she banishes all the Shinma from Earth. Number 9 is Seraph of the End. In 2012, the world allegedly comes to an end, which luckily it didn't, at the hands of a man-made virus that ravages the global populace, leaving only children under the age of 13 untouched. So basically, if that actually happened, we'd all be dead, for the most part, except for the teenagers. At the same time, vampires emerge from the recesses of the earth. They take over the land and claim it in one single violent stroke, controlling the remaining humans and leading them beneath the surface to a perceived safety. This safety comes with the price of donating blood to their captors without knowing that they're vampires. I don't know how they don't figure that out, to be honest. But the show focuses and centers around two orphans who something happens. I think they are brought in to get blood from, and one of them ends up being killed, so the other one seeks vengeance for his friend's death. Interesting show, I will say that, and has some great characters as well. Number 8 is Trinity Blood. As Earth's population drastically increased, humanity attempts to colonize Mars. During the colonization, two alien technologies are discovered: the Bacillus virus and the Kresnik nanomachines. The colonists inject the Bacillus into their bodies, which transforms them into a vampire race known as the Methuselah. I think that's how you pronounce it. They installed the Kresnik into the bodies of 4 test tube babies, Seth, Cain, Abel, and Lilith, whose enhanced bodies were the only ones able to survive the procedure. Wars on Earth eventually led to Armageddon, which happened 900 years before the story actually starts, and the colonists return to Earth to help with the rebuilding process. It's a long, complicated story, I will admit that, but it had some comedic moments, and the monsters were pretty cool, from what I remember. It's been a while since I've seen that, to be honest. Number 7 is Vampire Night. The show is about a young girl named Yuki who remembers a stormy winter night where she was attacked by a rogue vampire and rescued by Kaname Karan, a pureblood vampire. 10 years later, Yuki is the adopted daughter of the headmaster of Cross Academy and becomes a guardian of the vampire race, protecting her childhood crush Kaname from discovery as he leads a group of vampires at the elite boarding school. The humans and vampires at the school coexist, but have the vampires truly renounced their murderous ways, or is there a darker truth behind their actions? You'll have to find out. I will actually leave links in the description on where you can watch these. I think Vampire Night is available on Hulu, but I could be wrong. It might be on Crunchyroll or Funimation, but I will check. Number 6 is Hellsing. It centers around the Royal Order of Protestant Knights, originally led by Abraham van Helsing. The mission of Hellsing is to search for and destroy the undead and other supernatural forces of evil that threaten the Queen and country. The organization is led by Sir Integra Fairbrook Wingates Helsing, who inherited the leadership of Hellsing as a child after the death of her father. As you probably noticed, all of these are pretty tragic stories, but sometimes tragic stories are incredible ones just because you feel for the characters and you root for them because of their trauma and heartbreaking pasts. Number 5 is Blood Plus, which is one of my all-time favorite anime and actually led to my vampire novels. It actually inspired them big time. And not really for the vampires or the fighting of vampires, but mostly the dynamic between the two main characters. Their relationship is what inspired two of my characters. Not exactly, of course, because I'm not going to rip something off. It's completely my own, but I loved their, what do you call it? I liked their relationship. I liked how they communicated their story. You would think that they were in a romantic relationship, but they aren't. So, the anime is about a girl named Saya Otanashi. She's been living the life of an anemic amnesiac, but otherwise an ordinary schoolgirl. Her happy life is shattered when she is attacked by a large bat-like creature that lives by feeding on human blood. Saya learns that she is the only one who can defeat them because her blood causes their bodies to crystallize and shatter, which was really cool. It has a great twist near the end. I absolutely love this show, and I heard that it continued with Blood Sea, but I don't know if that's true. I think it's something entirely different because the main character isn't called Saya. It's some other character, so I have no idea. Number 4 is Castlevania. It is available on Netflix for those of you that want to check this one out. It's actually really well done. After the murder of his wife, Vlad Dracula, Tepes declares that all people of Wallachia will pay for their crimes with their lives. He summons an army of demons which overruns the country, casting people to live lives of fear and distrust. The monster hunter Trevor Belmont, the magician Sypha or Stifa, Belnades, and Dracula's Dampier son, Alucard, take up arms against Dracula's forces. I honestly felt bad for Dracula in the show. I didn't blame him for wanting vengeance for what the people did to his wife. She was a medicine woman, and they burned her at the stake for being a witch when she was curing people's ailments. And the worst part is no one came to her rescue or her defense. That was the worst part. So I didn't blame him for wanting vengeance for their crimes. Totally didn't blame him. Number 3 is True Blood. You all know about True Blood, I'm sure. I'm sure you've heard the show. You've probably even seen the show. For me, it was a very interesting story and one with a wide array of characters. Vampires are trying to coexist with humans, but the humans don't trust them for good reason. You have Suki, who's trying to understand who she is, what she is. The show keeps with a lot of the typical vampire tropes. They can't enter a house without being invited in, can't be out during the day or they'll die, that sort of thing. What made this so much more unique from other vampire shows that I've seen is the other supernatural creatures that they added into the show. I found them fascinating. I love the characters too, don't get me wrong, but I like seeing other supernatural creatures besides just vampires and werewolves and shapeshifters. So it was pretty cool. I haven't finished the show, I will admit that. I think I'm on season 4 or 5? I don't remember. I just know it's when the witch from olden times who tried to kill all vampires is possessing a modern witch and trying to do the same that she did back then. Wipe out vampires. Or show how evil the vampires are. That's where I am. I don't know what season that is. I don't know. Number 2 is Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. I'm sure you've seen the show. Very positive you have. Or you've seen the movie. I actually never watched the movie. If you think the movie is better than the TV show, let me know in the comments. Or if you think I should give it a watch, let me know in the comments. The reason why Buffy is number 2, it's not that great by any means. I will admit that. I There's a lot of drama for drama's sake. That sort of thing. But it was the first vampire show I ever saw, and I instantly fell in love with it. I never watched the spinoff Angel, though, so if you think Angel is worth giving it a watch, let me know that as well in the comments. I just never thought it was of any interest to me, so I just stuck with Buffy. I didn't like when they added the girl who was Buffy's sister. That's actually when I stopped watching it. I just didn't like her personality at all. Uh, Otherwise, the show was great up until that point for me. And this brings me to my number 1 favorite vampire show. For America, anyways. The Vampire Diaries. I know a lot of people love or hate this show. Some people thought it should have ended after, I don't know, maybe season 2, maybe 3. But I adore the witch aspect of the show. Along with the history of vampires and werewolves, I found it fascinating and completely different from any other vampire story I've ever read or watched. I do think the creators ran out of ideas at some point because it starts from keeping Elena safe from the vampires, then keeping her safe from her doppelganger vampire, to her becoming a vampire, to trying to find a cure, and there's just so much going on, and a lot of drama, which, let's face it, with shows like this, if there's not drama, what's the point of the show? Like, if nothing's happening, to say the least. Kind of like Pretty Little Liars. My husband always says that these shows are terrible because it's not realistic for something to constantly keep happening. But like I said, if something isn't constantly happening, no one's going to have an interest of just watching teenage girls go to high school and then go to college. It's going to be kind of boring without drama. I haven't seen the originals or the new spin-off show of The Vampire Diaries. I don't know how those are. And the reason why I haven't watched them is because I haven't finished The Vampire Diaries yet. I'm only on season 5, I think. So I'm pretty far back. I think there's only 8 seasons or 7 seasons. And I will say this, I'm hoping Elena ends up with Damon because I adore Damon. I love his personality. I like him so much. He's so great. And I kind of hope that Bonnie comes back from the dead because right now she's dead and she's not back, and I really love Bonnie. I want her to come back because I like her magic and witchiness. I loved her. But what are some of your favorite vampire shows? Let me know in the comments. I'll give them a watch if it's one I haven't seen yet. I did hear about Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire TV show. I haven't watched it. Mostly because I didn't like the movie version of the book, so I don't think I'm gonna like the TV show version of it. And partially because from what I've seen from the previews, Louis isn't this saintly character that he was in the book. He had these high, strong morals that he never wanted to break. And Lestat kind of shattered that by making him into a vampire, which basically monster. And Louis actually struggles with keeping with his morals because of this dark side. And I liked seeing that struggle in the book and how Lestat keeps trying to break him. And that's why I hated his character. I absolutely hated Lestat when I read that book. I couldn't stand him, and I didn't like him until I read The Vampire Lestat. That's when you kind of understood his traumatic and tragic past. You felt for him. And I did. I actually fell in love with the character after that book. And I kind of wish that they would go in order, kind of. I know the Interview with the Vampire came out first, but I kind of wish that they would go from Lestat's story first and then into Interview with the Vampire. Just so you kind of get that backstory. But that's just me. I know Queen of the Damned tried to mix the Queen of the Damned and not Interview, but the Vampire Lestat together, and it didn't work. It failed miserably because Marius did not make Lestat. I was so pissed off when I watched that movie. I actually skipped that scene every time. Why I love that movie though is because of the soundtrack. Pretty much it. And Stuart Townsend as Lestat was perfect besides the golden hair. I know he didn't have it, but I didn't care. Anyways, let me know if there's any vampire shows that you think I should give a watch. Tuesday, I'll be showing you my new favorite game, She Will Punish Them. It's a succubus game. If you don't want to miss that, click the bell icon to never miss a video. Take care and enjoy your weekend, everyone. Bye. Until next time.